And good day. I am Tamara Scott. Thank you for joining us on Truth for Our Time as we give you wisdom, give you a little bit of experience, a little bit of, it's just truth. You just can't beat truth for our time or any time. Thank you for joining us here at Webcast One Live. You can watch, you can view. We have an app from the phone, and you can let your friends know as well that they can also participate in this way. Today we're going to be talking about the new AP Advanced Placement U.S. History exam. It's been revised, and from what people are saying, greatly different from its mission purpose, the left-leaning version of it has taken over. But it's more than that. This is more than just concern about an agenda or political agenda. There's accuracy issues. There are, as far as our history being portrayed properly. And we're going to talk today with Larry Krieger, who is the author of several textbooks helping people get preparation for the AP exams that they take. We're going to talk to Tanya Diddy. Tanya is the state director for Concerned Women for America of Georgia. And Concerned Women for America was one of the first in the awakening and educating on the Common Core. And it was Tanya Diddy who helped bring Concerned Women for America into that knowledge that something was happening in the education reform arena. And so she's been on this from the get-go. And if you understand this AP history, though it's not part of the core curriculum, we'll get into this with our guest, there is some similarities there with concerns about a national curriculum overriding the state curriculum or the state standards, because teachers will invariably teach to the test, especially when something so important as college credit is riding on it. So we'll be talking to those folks as well. Also, a mother, Mary Jane Smithson. If you know me very well, you know I like to speak to the moms and dads, those who consider ourselves the everyday, ordinary Americans, because we're the ones who deal with the issues. We're the ones making the difference. When you have these big changes coming down, there's often a reason, money behind it, policy changes. There's usually some agenda behind it. And as at your legislature, you've heard me say before, those who want it, will benefit from it, they're talking to your legislators. Those lobbyists who need it for their resume, they're talking to your legislators. But those who will pay for it, seldom do the legislators hear from you. And so the everyday moms and dads and teachers who are going to deal with this curriculum, whether it's through the Common Core or now through the AP History exam, we want to hear from them. And so we'll be pleased to talk to Mary Jane Smithson, who testified before the Texas School Board. She's a mom who has 4 kids, and total they have had over 41 AP credits in their family. So she certainly has experience with the AP testing and exams and classes, and she also has curriculum that she can compare for us from 2010 to 2014. So this is an issue that's certainly gotten headlines. The RNC passed a resolution asking for the delay. You'll see some language that's pretty harsh, and actually the language in the RNC resolution is that we recommend delaying the implementation of this test until further investigation can occur and until schools are ready for this. And funding. Why would politicians, leaders continue to fund something that might not be accurate in the best interest of our students? Education, we know, is a problem. We know education has declined since the Department of Education came into being. And so if we're going to continue to fund these institutions, we at the very least need to make sure that they are accountable. So we'll have a great show for you on those issues today. A couple things I do want to talk about. The Blaze told the story about the young boy, and this is one of the things I saw firsthand as a parent when my kids were still in the public schools a decade ago. A young boy told to bring the show and tell items. And the Blaze talks about this 4th grader bringing to school one of his favorite toys, a Nerf gun. And the dad was called by the school. He says, they told me my son brought a weapon to school, and they asked me if I was aware. I asked them what it was, and they said it was a plastic Nerf gun. Do you understand what's happening here? To make kids feel bad about a Nerf gun, about a toy, is, again, that indoctrination that we simply don't need, especially when guns are not the issue. When someone brings up violence as soon as they hear the word gun, that tells you more about their mindset than the gun. Okay? Secondly, another news story. And again, the Blaze, we're thankful for Glenn Beck and the work that he does. According to KPIX TV, a book that will be used this fall at Fremont Unified School District includes topics, and I will not say them here. I will not even give you the topics. Some of them, bondage. Others, you can just get on the website yourself, the Blaze story. I will put this on the Truth for Our Time Facebook page later today. Truth for Our Time Facebook page. We'll have that link for you. But what your kids are being taught in school is no longer just the edgy reproductive biology class that we raised eyebrows about 20 years ago. This is simply teaching. It's not even teaching sex anymore. I used to say it was teaching sex, but it's beyond that. It's teaching perversions of what should be a wonderful and beautiful relationship between two married partners. So I think my guests are on the line, are they not, Ryan? It's good to see you again. I was out of town last week, and Ryan, appreciate everything that you do to keep us running on the air. So joining me is Tanya Diddy with Concerned Women for America, and we'll be talking about the action plan, because oftentimes you hear these things and we're like, yeah, but what do we do? How do we fix this? We have an action plan. And Larry Krieger, the author of the text prep books for the AP history class. So Tanya, good morning. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. And let me know, apparently sometimes I get too close to my microphone, so if you can't hear me, you let me know as well. And Larry, are you joining us?
I am. Good morning.
Thank you so much. Larry, you have had this experience with the AP history exams because you have written the textbooks and the prep textbooks for these classes for how many years?
Oh, wow. A long time. I guess my textbooks, oh my goodness, 20 years or more.
Okay. And so it was you really that kind of brought this to our attention. And boy, we have gotten some attention. I've had national reporters calling since the RNC passed the resolution. And I will put those resolutions on as well on Truth for Our Time Facebook page later today, or at least a link to them. I think Caffeinated Thoughts has written about them as well. The resolution for the RNC was pretty simple. About 500,000 students take the College Board Advanced Placement. These are your upstanding higher end college, history students. And Larry, just give us in a nutshell, because we want to get to the meat of what we're going to talk about today, but in a nutshell, the concern with the test was what?
With the test?
Yes.
The first concern was that the College Board released one test only to certified AP teachers. Now, in a big news development on Monday, Mr. Coleman announced that that's been released to the public. But there are still many, many concerns. So, yes, I have a copy of it. I've studied it. I've gone over it. There are a number of concerns about the test now that it's been released. Would you like me to go into that right now?
Well, yeah, and let's first, I want people to understand that they weren't going to release that to anybody but AP teachers, and didn't they threaten if anyone allowed it publicly, they threatened the school's AP programs?
Yes, they did. There were severe sanctions, and I have to say it was the protests of concerned citizens around the country that forced Mr. Coleman to release this test on Monday.
Okay.
So that proves that concerted action will work.
All right. Now, I tell you what, because we have listeners from American Family Radio Network joining us, what we're going to do is take our break right now. When we come back, we'll join with those listeners. We'll give a brief introduction of the two of you again, and we'll start the deep, in-depth discussion on this. And you're right, Larry. It was the action of parents and teachers around the nation that have gotten us to where we are in this. So thank you for bringing it to our attention. We'll be right back after these messages. We're powered by Webcast One. This is Tamara Scott live with Truth for Our Time.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray, we're saved! Democrat, you're our hero!
Metro Ford's on everywhere. Metro Ford's on everywhere.
See 'em here, see 'em there. You got bad credit? We don't care.
Metro Ford's on everywhere. Metro Ford's on everywhere.
Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com.
Metro Ford's on everywhere.
Visit emetroford.com today.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent.
Open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
I'm Tamara Scott. Thank you for staying with us. Those of you who are listening on the Webcast One Live website, you can listen, you can watch, you can view, you can chat alongside. You can call in 877-244-0077, 877-244-0077. And those of you who are listening on the radio network, American Family Radio, we're pleased you could join us. I am talking with Larry Krieger. Larry is the author of several textbooks for the students who are taking the AP, the Advanced Placement U.S. History exam. He's written those textbooks for years. And Tanya Diddy, who has an action plan on what we're going to be discussing, and that is the new AP exam that has been revised, the U.S. History exam that's been revised. And then you can join us for the entirety of this program. You can get it at Tamara Scott Live on YouTube, Tamara Scott Live on YouTube, because later Mary Jane Smitherson, a mother from Texas, will be joining us. She testified before the Texas School Board, having put 4 children through over 41 AP classes. She's got quite a bit of experience, and she'll be giving us some of the highlights and the differences on the curriculum or the exams of this new AP test. So we're going to go right to our guest today, and I thank J. Michael McCoy, for sharing the airtime with me on AFR. His program is Restoring Hope, and he really deals with individuals, giving you hope and out of deliverance of life gripping addictions. And I would tell you, Restoring Hope, we do the same thing on a national scale, public policy, helping you find ways to help your community and restoring the hope we have in our leaders and taking back those liberties and freedoms and guarding with vigilance the freedom and liberties that we have. So thanks for staying with us. So Larry, you were about to tell us some of the differences on this test, and I know so much is breaking. I'm getting calls daily from reporters on this issue, so I want to be able to encompass everything in this 24 minutes that we have together.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll be succinct. First things first, it's just one test. 1 year ago, if you were an AP U.S. history teacher, you had 8 release tests. These 8 tests had 680 multiple choice questions. You had the amazing trove of material at AP Central, which included 400 graded essays that kids had written since 1999. So if you were a teacher a year ago, you had tremendous preparation materials. All that's gone. We now have, whether you like it or not, just this one test. Now, I really do consider this dearth of materials to be a very practical issue which is not getting all the attention it deserves. And what it really means is the College Board wasn't ready to release this program. In fact, they didn't want to release the test, and now we know why the secret test was. They tried to keep the secret test secret. The first reason is, well, guess what? The questions on the test really are anchored in the framework, just like they said. They said that there would be no questions outside the framework, and in truth, every single question is reference to a specific skill, a specific theme, and a specific concept. So their argument that, well, yes, around the country, if you're a teacher, you can surely bring in your local content, your local material, the so-called flexibility doctrine. Sorry, actually they meant what they said. Every item is firmly anchored in the framework. Now, we believe that the framework itself is a biased document, and we've written a lot explaining that. If the framework is biased, and if the test is anchored in the framework, then guess what you have? A biased test. It's a little bit subtle, and it takes time to read through the test and study it carefully. But once you do, you realize that there are biases. Now, I'm going to write an article very shortly taking a look at the secrets of the not-so-secret-anymore test, and I will discuss this. But I think your readers, or your listeners, if I was a listener, I'd be, well, okay, Larry, that's a pretty big statement. Can you give us an example? And the answer is sure. Now, if you download the test and you flip through and you look at questions 24 through 26, they're linked with a picture. They call this a stimulus. The stimulus in this case is a picture of immigrants living on the Lower East Side of New York at the turn of the century. It's part of a book called How the Other Half Lives. It's very famous, actually. Now, this stimulus then generates a set of 3 questions. Now, let me pause. On previous tests, you had 80 multiple-choice questions. They weren't linked. They were discrete questions that asked for specific information. Here you have 55 questions, but they're linked 2 to 6 questions at a time to a specific stimulus. And that allows the test writers, to create what amounts to a very subtle but real message. Let me explain. So we have we have the picture of the immigrants living on the Lower East Side, and then the first question says, conditions like those shown in the image contributed most directly to which of the following? And the answer is an increase in progressive reform activity. Now, throughout this test, the progressives are the heroes who arrive on the scene to redress problems created by big business. Now, the next question says the conditions shown in the image came about most directly as a result of. And the answer is low wages earned by workers in the late 19th century. Well, yes, they did earn low wages, but they were immigrants. They didn't speak English. They didn't have skills. There were a variety of reasons why their economic status was not as good as they would like to be. And then the final question. Advocates for individuals, such as those shown in the image, would most likely agree with which of the following perspectives? And the answer is government should act to eliminate the worst abuses of industrial society. I want to repeat that. Government should act to eliminate the worst abuses of industrial society. Now, that is the essential core progressive message. Now, your listeners may find it interesting. Here was the wrong answer for question 26. Capitalism, free of government regulation, would improve social conditions. No, that's wrong. So the capitalist system, not going to improve anything. We've got to bring in government to do things. Now, at least people say, well, okay, but wasn't that an isolated example? No, it wasn't. This theme of there's a problem, it's caused by business, and government, progressive government, needs to step in. It's actually repeated on the next page and is very consistent with the actual themes of the framework itself. And I intend to write all this up so that people can see it. So a biased framework has indeed created, as you would expect, a bias test. Now, there are other things, but they're a little bit on the technical side that teachers have complained about. I'll mention one. The test, after the 55 multiple choice questions, which counts 40% of the grade, there are 5 short answer questions. They're pretty interesting as well, but the students only have 45 minutes for 40 questions, so 11 minutes and 15 seconds, and they're pretty tough. And the teachers across the country are saying, we don't think the kids can do this in 45 minutes, and several have said, I don't think I can do it in 45 minutes. And everyone is saying, and we don't even have so much as one example of what a high, medium, or low essay would look like on these questions. Further proof, they're just not ready. They're just not ready. We're being guinea pigs for a College Board experiment. That's the reality.
So beyond the agenda, the left-leaning, the inaccuracy, the things that have been left out, you're just saying, as a prudent measure, they're simply not ready to move
Correct.
to this revised.
No, it's not ready. It should, at very least, it should have been piloted in a few districts that maybe wanted to. Or if they delayed, they could generate more materials, answers to the question, and refine it. And by the way, as someone who was familiar with all of their release tests, the questions on this test, just from a technical point of view, are really inferior in terms of their writing and the way they did it to what was done in the past. In the past, the questions were really quite professional. Clearly, they just rushed this out. It was, I would have to say, in many cases, fairly amateurish, because the writers had an agenda to get across, and I'm sure they think it was great.
And we don't know who the writers are.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Have you been able to determine who the writers on this new test have been?
Well, you've just raised a big question, and I actually have a big news scoop for your readers, for your listeners. I keep saying readers. I'm sorry, because I'm a writer. I have a big news scoop. I really and truly do. Now, in response to our demand, our question, who wrote this document? At first, the College Board just, we didn't exist. They wouldn't respond. But now, on Sunday morning, they published a new set of questions and answers, which we've responded to.
And let's be serious. They did that in response to the pushback that Americans are giving them across the nation.
Oh, absolutely. The 8 questions are literally verbatim they're phrasing of our points. And the first one was, well, who wrote it? So they said, oh, well, we had a committee, and the committee had 19 members, and we've listed their names on page V, Roman numeral V, of the framework now. They've inserted it. So when you look at Roman numeral 5, what you find is acknowledgments. It doesn't say authors. It says acknowledgement. And then it lists the 19 people. Now, in our response, we wrote, there's a difference between attending meetings, exchanging emails, and being an actual accountable author. So it's still anonymous. Now, here's the big news bulletin. I don't think I'm at liberty to use the person's name, but I will give you the quote. A member of the committee wrote a very scholarly, it was a professor, wrote a very scholarly defense of the framework's, actually it was his skills and themes, to a state board of education. And this and I was sent the letter and asked, could you respond? It was very scholarly, and that was fine. Now, within the letter, the author wrote, neither I nor, and then he has the name of colleagues on the committee, quote, had any hand in drafting this part. The part he's referring to are the pages with the actual content, the 9 units, what he would call part 3. So I can only guess at why the examples that appear were chosen. In short, he didn't write it. He doesn't know why they have the Black Panthers and not Dr. King, or the Students for a Democratic Society and not Dwight Eisenhower. He doesn't know these things. He didn't write it. So we're left with an extremely important point. How can a state board of education in America endorse this and allow this to be taught in their schools when, A, the Republican National Committee, with your outstanding leadership, has said, don't do this, we recommend you don't do it, and to top it all off, we have a disingenuous college board which has yet to tell us who actually wrote it, and now we know, in a direct quote, who didn't write it, the members of the committee. Now, already yesterday, the Daily Caller did an article on this. You know, Mr. Coleman's letter has triggered a lot of media coverage. And at the end of the article, the author speculates, and it's in the Daily Caller. Your listeners can just click on education. They'll easily find it. And in the last paragraph, he says, you know, we don't know who did it. They're still anonymous. And he says some are already speculating that it was written by left-wing college professors or maybe just freelance writers who were hired to graduate students or just freelance writers who were hired to on a work-for-hire basis. But he says there's a reason why they're not telling us. Now, go ahead.
Well, for me, I wouldn't care who wrote it, from what standpoint, if it were accurate and actually dealt with accurate history, giving our students the best possible scenario for revealing information, not just regurgitating something that's been forced upon them that is within a political agenda. And I also want to touch on this. Tanya, have you posted the frequently asked questions and the rebuttal from Larry?
We have. If you go to concernedwomen.org, O-R-G, concernedwomen.org, there is a sub-banner that says Push Back Against the A-Push. If you click on that link, it will direct you. Not only, we did a nationwide conference call, and that's archived, and Larry was one of the panelists on that conference call. They can listen to that, but underneath, scroll down a bit, and there's an area for documents and an area for just online web articles. And Larry's information is posted there. So, and it should be pretty descriptive on that. That's what it is, so they can find all of that information. And I'll be posting the Daily Caller link here in a little bit. And there's some other information that's coming out. So, but that they can find it at concernedwomen.org.
Concernedwomen.org. And do they have to go to your state, or is it just on that main website?
Under the main banner. Actually, under the main banner, there is a link that says "Push Back Against A-Push," and that is the American Advanced Placement U.S. History. And if they click on that, they will find all of the articles. And Larry has just written tremendously on this, and all of those things are posted there.
We have a lot of reporters actually calling me on this because of the work that the RNC has done, but also just wanting to get more information on it. I have, Larry, I'm a team of one, a lot of days, but I had people helping me out today. Our guest that's going to come on after the second portion of this program that folks will be able to get on the YouTube archive for today's date. Mary Jane was telling me that if we check the College Board out, people have to realize this is a private board. We assume that this is somehow accountable, that there is somehow some level of standard on the board itself, but it's a private, unaccountable board. And Mary Jane was telling me if we look through that, we'd find some interesting connections. One of them came from the Gates Foundation, who we know is very responsible for giving us the Common Core. And though this isn't Common Core, because Common Core is just English literature standards as well as math, we do know that this is probably, the concern is going to usurp many state standards on history, because teachers will invariably teach to the test with so much writing on it for college credit. And so you'll again have a national history curriculum, and teachers will not be allowed to teach anything other. Because as you say, Larry, this framework's over 100 pages, where before it used to be about 5 pages.
Correct.
Okay. And so, Tanya, I want to talk, we've got maybe 5 or 6 minutes left, but I want people to understand, Tanya, to how do they get involved? This is necessary, not just for those students we think are smart students, but this is the future of our country. If kids are not taught to appreciate what has made us strong as a nation, what has made the U.S. exemplary, what has made us free, what has given us liberties beyond any other nation, we lose those freedoms.
Absolutely, Tamara. And on concernedwomen.org, if you go out to the Pushback Against APUSH link, we do have in document form a set of action items. Actually, on that page, there's a whole set of things that they can do. And let me just give you several the audience several things that they can do, because there is just something for everybody that can fight back against this. If you go out to the website, there is an open letter to David Coleman, and you can sign that letter. There's, I think, over 1,200 signatures on that. In about a week, we had gathered that many. So just sign that. Joining together with other people and being a unified voice is incredibly important, and I agree with what you and Larry have said. That is why the College Board is now in reaction mode. So have them do that. Now, if you are a parent with a child taking AP classes, if you've not started school yet, we're in different places in the country, but if your children have not started school yet, I'd highly recommend not putting them in the AP U.S. history class. If they are already in there, then you're going to have to monitor it. If you don't pull them out of that particular AP class, then you're going to have to monitor it. But if I were a parent and my kids were being subjected to this, Larry gave a really good action item on the call last week, and that is to pick up the phone and call the College Board. Make your voice known to the College Board, and we provide the phone number, the contact information to the College Board on the website. So, again, parents, you have got to speak up at the local school level to your local school board, and you've got to speak out. So, if I were a parent, that would be a couple of items that I could do. I would also make phone calls to the State Board of Education in your state. We have done that in Georgia. We actually testified in front of the State Board. They were very prepared for us. They had all the College Board talking points, and we're talking about supposedly a conservative State Board of Education that just is now fearful to fight back against the College Board. And so making your voice known at the state board level, most of the time they are the gatekeepers, educationally speaking, and the state school superintendent in your state. Begin making phone calls and emails to the gatekeepers in education in your state. And if you can get several people to do that in your state, all of a sudden, again, one voice is great, but many voices make a huge impact and a huge difference. So begin making those types of phone calls. I will say one thing that we have done, and we're about to release that information, is that we actually requested how much money our state is paying for students to take the AP exams, for teachers to go through the AP training, and just the cost in general of what it's costing for AP courses in our state. And I will say that it is in the millions of dollars. So as it was said earlier, this is a private organization, unaccountable to the taxpayers, but yet our money through different types of grants or just just education budgeting, we are having to pay money that's basically going back to the College Board to keep them in operation. And so we as the taxpayers, we've been pushed out of the loop. And so what you can do is you can call the State Board of Education, do an open records request, and ask how much money is being allotted each year to pay for the AP exams. And again, that's probably a lot of AP classes, but it does give you an idea of the amount of money that the College Board is raking in each year from the different states. And of course, they get federal funding as well.
And that's what the RNC resolution, one of the resolution points was to withhold that funding until we can get some transparency back. Let me just read it to you. The Republican National Committee requests that Congress withhold any federal funding to the College Board, a private non-governmental organization, until APUSH course and examination have been rewritten in a transparent manner to accurately reflect U.S. history without political bias and to respect the sovereignty of state standards, and until sample examinations are made available to educators, state and local officials, and public, and as has long been the established practice.
You know, and that goes along with, and it's what Larry had said earlier, and he has done some evaluations on some of the standards for different states. And I know in Georgia there's over 100 elements that are in our social studies standards that was passed by our Department of Education, and so it's what Georgia deems important as far as social studies standards. And now these teachers are going to have a tremendously hard time trying to teach those standards as they teach the framework. It's just going to be impossible. So now our standards have been shut out.
All right, you can hear the music. We are out of time for this segment for our listeners who join us on American Family Radio, but we will continue this broadcast in its entirety, and you may hear it on Tamara Scott Live. You may go to the YouTube and get the archive for Tamara Scott Live with today's date, August 13th. Larry Krieger, Krieger, Tanya Diddy with Concerned Women for America. Larry Krieger's written the textbooks on the AP exams. You need to be involved, parents. You've got to take this back. You're responsible for your children and their education. You can no longer sit by and trust others. I thank you for listening for this portion of Restored Hope and Tamara Scott Live, and I hope you'll check in with the rest of the show, but be encouraged and never be complacent.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I am administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seemed like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money-back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
And I am Tamara Scott. Thank you for staying tuned with us on Truth for Our Time. Larry Krieger is one of my guests today. Tanya Diddy from Concerned Women for America was also on the line, and joining us shortly will be a mom who's got lots of experience with over 41 credits in the AP realm. So, Larry, your thoughts for parents and people out there listening, because we have raised the ire. We've got lots of responses and newspaper reporters calling us.
Yeah, hi. I'm still on, and my basic thought is speak out, push back. We're hearing over and over. I just got an email from South Carolina. The Board of Education said, "Well, you know, it's the College Board. There's nothing we can do about it. It's their course." That's just not true. That course is being taught in your schools by your teachers, and the taxpayers are paying for the school and for the teachers and for the textbooks, and you can just say no. Really.
And so, Larry, that's the South Carolina State School Board? That's
No, it was a Charleston City.
Oh, Charleston City.
Charleston City.
But they're saying there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I couldn't resist saying to the person who was there, and I intend to write this up, you know, your ancestors had the courage of their convictions, which I personally don't agree with, but to fire on Fort Sumter. They did. You don't have the courage of your convictions, because you claim you're conservatives, to fire off a letter to the College Board and say no.
And this is why we need to come back to local control, because otherwise everyone passes the buck and blames whoever is next up the chain. But oddly enough, Larry, what are the chances? I love this. John, who's joining us by phone, is from South Carolina.
Oh, good.
John, thank you for joining us. You're with the Charleston, the county GOP?
That's correct, Charleston County Republican Party.
Let me interject and say the Charleston GOP did pass a resolution. It's the Board of Education I'm talking about, or some subcommittee on the Board of Education.
Well, that's what I think is so appropriate. So, John, tell me about your resolution. As a county, I think this for your county to do this is quite proactive. But quickly tell us, when did you pass this resolution?
On Monday, and the resolution spells out all the flaws in the Common Core Advanced Placement History curriculum, and we're asking our State Department of Education to require at least a one-year delay in implementing this new curriculum. And by the way, we don't even have the textbooks in place right now for the new curriculum, which teaches revisionist history. And we're saying let's go with the curriculum we already have until they have a chance to overhaul this nonsense that they're pushing on our high school students.
So let's explain that again. Your students are going to be tested on a curriculum that hasn't even been, I don't even know if it's written, Larry, do you?
Yeah.
They're guidelines, but
not
there's
the
no
textbook.
textbook.
Now, John makes a fantastic point, which ties into my point. They're not ready. The book that the 5,000 students in South Carolina will take AP U.S. History this year. And the book that they use is entitled, or most of them use, is called The American Pageant. The new, quote, framework ready, meaning left biased edition of the book, won't even be ready until January 2015. So teachers are placed in an impossible situation. They're using their old books to teach a new revisionist curriculum. This is just absurd. And, oh, by the way, these new books are going to cost approximately $150 a piece.
Oh, of course. Now, John, hearing this and hearing that your school board is saying that there's not a thing they can do about it, and this would be the same local school board in the county where John is, correct?
Yes. Now, I want to say I think it was a subcommittee. I'd have to check. I think it was a subcommittee. But, yes, they met yesterday and said, gee, there's nothing we can do. You know, it's the College Board. It's not even a required course. Well, actually, U.S. history is a required course. This is just this is just a variant of the U.S. history requirement.
So, John, what are you going to do now? You've passed your resolution, and they're saying not a thing we can do about it. Will your county party take more action?
Well, we'll certainly follow up. The South Carolina Republican Party is having an executive committee meeting this Saturday in Columbia, and we hope that they'll take up this resolution. And we have people, as we speak, at our state school board meeting telling them that they need to take action. School starts in a week. They need to take action now.
And John, you're the chairman
for the Charleston County, right.
And so if somebody wants to contact you, how do they do it?
Well, they can call me at 843-709-7819 or email at chairman@charlestongop.org.
Very good. I thank you for your leadership on this, John. I thank you for stepping out, being so proactive, not waiting for others. I think you're the first county party in the nation to take this on, and I thank you for that. And your school board, the local committee there has responded, and I'll be watching. This is going to be what we call a wedge issue politically, and whoever's on the right side of it, as far as with the people, with the liberty, I think will win on this when we see that state school board election in Oklahoma, where the incumbent lost her seat, came in third after spending what one article said was $1 million of her own money, and I've heard as high as $2 million of her own money. Lost because of her position pro-Common Core. Same in Georgia, the pro-Common Core candidate lost in the primary there. So this is a wedge issue, John.
It is. Unfortunately, our State Board of Education is appointed, and there's a complex formula for how those seats are determined, and oftentimes it's just a bunch of retired educrats that hold these seats, and people who have no interest in reforming the system. But this advanced placement history curriculum is just outrageous, and some of the lowlights is it has almost no discussion of the founding fathers, the principles of the Declaration of Independence, major battles in the Revolutionary War, our Constitution, World War II battles. It doesn't even talk about Nazi atrocities during World War II. It's just stunning.
John, thank you.
The Cold War.
Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for being on guard and guarding our liberties and our freedoms and that which our children are taught. I appreciate that. Joining us on phone now is Mary Jane Smitherson, and this is a mom we told you about who's had over 41 AP credits accumulated between her kids, so she's certainly got experience in the program. And Larry, are you going to stay on the line with us?
Yeah, I'm very eager to hear what Mary Jane says. I could stay on another hour.
Well, and interesting, Mary Jane's a busy mom. She was having a coffee with the drill team moms today. Parents are having to take time out of the things we're supposed to be doing to have to come back and deal with these things. But Mary Jane, thanks for joining us. You testified before the state school board in Texas.
Yes, I testified to the State Board of Education in July about the new APUSH curriculum that's going to go, into schools this August.
And you've got, I love this, 41 credits between all your kids. You know what you're talking about. So between the 2010 curriculum and the 2014 curriculum, what are noticeable differences?
Well, the first difference, just right off the bat, is just the number of pages that's in each one. The new one is much longer, and I think that means there's going to be less flexibility that the teacher will have to put in things that they feel like are important. Another thing is just the change in the themes that are covered. The new curriculum includes something called peopling, which is quite interesting. I'm not sure exactly what that means. There's also just a change in the historical periods that are outlined, and a change in the historical events that are covered. Somebody just made mention to that. There's nothing about the Gettysburg Address. There's nothing about Hitler, the atrocities of the Jews. And one thing that is very near and dear to my heart is when we talk about Hitler, people need to be aware of the fact that he came to power in Germany in 1933, and World War II did not start until September 1st, 1939. And he was able to put forth a lot of propaganda into the schools to, propagandize this war against the Jewish people and other groups. And so people ask, how did that happen? Well, it happened very subtly and very slowly. But that's how he was able, one of the ways he was able to get the German people to do the things that they did against the Jewish people. And there's a lot more people that are more of an expert on this than me. But I think when you read about us dropping the bomb, you know, that we did the atomic bomb, which is covered in the 2014 curriculum, they say that it made people question the values of the American people, but they don't list anything about the horribleness of World War II and what was going on in Europe. So, I mean, I could talk all day long about the things that are not included
And you
in
say
curriculum.
you're comparing two curriculums, but the others are saying they don't even have the curriculum yet. Curriculum yet. Where do you get your curriculum from? How do you have yours?
I actually, well, you used to be able to find it on the College Board website. I actually, because my kids have been at this school, at our high school for so long, and many of my kids have had the same teacher for the same class, I have a lot of relationships with these teachers. Unfortunately, some have left over this, and so they have been very generous in sharing this old curriculum, the 2010 curriculum, with me, and other people have given me links to the 2014, because for a while the College Board was having trouble with just people like me accessing this curriculum on their site. So it's really been through the generosity of other people that I've been able to become educated. And when I testified to the state board, I had both curriculums. I printed it off, had it bound, and I also included in my testimony, because you have to supply the State Board of Education here in Texas with 34 copies of your testimony. I made copies of each one of the curriculums that I specifically reference in my testimony, so that, don't take my word for it, go ahead and look at the curriculum. Look at the index of the 2014 curriculum, which is about 8 or 9 pages long, and see for yourself if there's a reference to Dr. Martin Luther King, if there's a reference to Rosa Parks, if there's a reference to the Gettysburg Address, Hitler, the Holocaust. It is not there. But gender is mentioned 9 or 11 times. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, and that cracks. Why is gender mentioned? Why is gender mentioned in history?
You know, when I asked the College Board representative that, she said it was because gender lasts forever.
Well, as we know today, it doesn't so much. It may have at one point, but what they're teaching these kids in elementary school is that it need not be a permanent thing. So they're contradicting themselves once again, and that's tongue-in-cheek for everyone out there. Larry, I want to touch on something, and I hope this is okay. Someone was sharing with me that you were not necessarily a Beck person, a Michelle Malkin person. You didn't know who a lot of these folks were. You're not what some would consider a right-wing conservative. So you're just interested in history, the integrity of the lessons taught and what our students are learning. And I think that's a valuable point.
That is absolutely correct. My job, I taught since 1970. When I walk into the classroom, I told my students, first of the year, my job's not to teach you my personal opinions, which change anyway. My job is to teach you and get you excited about the values and traditions of this great country, and teach you what made America great, which includes that we've had problems, but unlike other countries, we've addressed them. So my job's not to be partisan. I would say this: I'm large. I contain a multitude of ideas, and my views shift and change. But in truth, when I started this, I must tell you, I was very unaware of the conservative blogs like School Reform News, which has done such a fine job for us, and Breitbart, which has done a great job, and School Reform in Florida that Bill Korak does. I was unaware of all these things. I really and truly was, but these folks have stepped up, and that's what really counts. They've been willing to say no, and the major theme of my classroom experience, my classroom teaching, was people of courage and conviction. People like Rosa Parks, who said no, or Martin Luther, who said no to the Pope, or William Lloyd Garrison, who said no to slavery. And so I felt ultimately like if I'm going to teach that for several decades, and now I see something that's wrong, I can't say nothing. I've got to say no too. at first, honestly, I didn't know how to push back at all. And then I found Jane Robbins, and we've made a great team, and Tanya Diddy and yourself. And in Texas, Ken Mercer, who, by the way, I spoke with this morning, who says to say hello to everybody from the heart of Texas.
Very good. We appreciate the work that he's done as well. And Larry, we couldn't have done this without you, but I wanted to make that point. This is not all one wing of a party. This is not anyone from any one party. This is parents, teachers alike, who are concerned about the truth, accuracy in education, excellence for our students, and a reflection and a transparency, one, with our taxpayer dollars, but what's happening through the College Board and the AP exams. And I want to come back to you, Mary Jane, because you made an interesting point, and actually Tanya Diddy talked about this a little bit earlier in the program. She recommended that our students not take AP history until this is resolved. You touched on that in a conversation you and I had. There are other options where kids can get college credit. How is that?
That's true. So you can take a class at your local community college, which qualifies for dual credits. The problem with that is that you do not get any GPA. One way, I guess, that the College Board has enticed students to take the AP classes is that it is a higher multiplier. In my school, it's a 1.2 multiplier. So if I make 100, I multiply that times 1.2, and that goes into my total weighted average. So when a dual credit course transfers over for my child's, high school transcript, we just get the credit, and it's a pass-fail. So, that's one way to get for sure college credit. Another thing is that when you take an AP class, it's not guaranteed that you will get the credit. You have to score a 5 or a 4 on the AP test that's given in May. So there's still some unknowns. Parents also do pay for those tests between $50 and $60 per test. So,
let me just say one thing. As a longtime AP teacher, I'm extremely reluctant to tell kids not to take an AP course. Anybody can take this exam, by the way. Anybody can take this exam. And I've taught a lot of kids privately and prepared them for the test who just didn't take the course because they were taking AP calculus, AP physics, and whatnot. I just, to tell your listeners and everybody, now is the time to speak out. Right now, the College Board, for the first time, is responding and reevaluating. It would just be so much better if the College Board said, we've listened, we're going to delay this for a year, write some more tests, be more inclusive, get some more opinions. We're going back to the old topic outline, which nobody was really complaining about, which worked just fine for 2 generations, believe it or not. That, to me, would be the very best outcome for everybody, including the College Board itself.
Okay, now, Larry, I'm on the College Board website because part of our action plan that we've told our people is to call the College Board. And so I'm on the College Board website. There are several numbers listed. Would you recommend people call the number for the Advanced Placement Program?
Yes. The other call is people have been writing me. They've called the College Board, and they get a real runaround. They keep them on the phone. Would you wait? What's your name? Another option is to go to the Internet and look up College Board regional offices. There are 6 regional offices across America, and it's easy. You just go to Yahoo or Google and put College Board regional offices, and they'll all pop up with numbers. I think your chances of getting your message through are much greater to the regional office, because then what they'll do is they'll pick up the phone and they'll say, we're getting calls. What's going on? I think that's already been happening. I do believe, based upon what people have reported to me, that it'd be much more efficient to call the regional offices than the one in New York City.
Mary Jane, just a few seconds left. Anything in closing?
I completely agree with him. When I testified, I did ask them to go back to the 2010 standards. They worked. They included a lot more things. The outline moved chronologically. It didn't kind of hop and skip and jump in some of the time periods.
Right.
And
Good
so,
point.
yeah, and so I agree. And my own experience is that my fourth child of 4 kids will take this starting in August, on August 25th, which is our first day of school. So I would love to start with the 2010 standards.
And Larry, quickly, anything in closing?
Yes. Just say no. Rosa Parks. Now, seriously.
Nancy Reagan lives on.
And that day in December 1st, 1955, there were thousands of African American and whites riding buses in the South. Rose is the one who had the courage to say no. So just say no, and things will actually happen. There's just a private organization receiving a lot of money, by the way, from us. And just say no. It'll actually work.
Thank you to all my guests today, Tanya Diddy, Larry Krieger, John from the South Carolina Charleston County GOP, Mary Jane Smitherson as well, parents, individuals, teachers, students, you are what make things happen. You are what make things work, because Larry, one man saw the problem with this, raised the issue. That's how the rest of us caught it and were able to make a difference. And we now see them responding already to our calls for action. The College Board, the phone number I did write down for you, but I put my glasses down and I'll never be able to read it without them. 888-225-5427, 888-225-5427, or call the regional offices like Larry said, or email apstudents@info.collegeboard.org, info@collegeboard.org, apstudents@info.collegeboard.org, or you can always get a hold of me, Truth for Our Time, on Facebook, or Tamara Scott, or Stop Common Core Iowa. Stop Common Core Iowa on Facebook. I want to thank ChristiansForAmerica.com. ChristiansForAmerica.com has come alongside us. They are helping us be able to fund this. It does take resources to get us on the air, and I thank them for their partnership with us. If you're interested in that, please contact us and let us know how you might help and partner with us as well. It's up to you. There is no excuse. Be encouraged and never be complacent.